This is where we hold them. This is where we fight.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
Mike. Normally I'd be all excited and all antsy tonight, but I actually just heard some really sad news in the bowling world. One of my longtime friends and old ball driller and owner of Rainbow Lanes, Bob Simonelli Sr. passed away. And I literally just heard that news probably about a half hour ago. And if anybody doesn't know who Bob Simonelli Sr. was, he's very well-known proprietor in Brooklyn, New York, ran and owned Rainbow Lanes for a really long time. Actually was the ball driller for Mark Roth. And Mark Roth used to actually get his balls shipped when he was on tour by Bob Simonelli Sr. And they owned Rainbow Lanes. His pro shop was where I used to get a lot of my stuff drilled. John, his son John, used to do it. Was one of the best ball drillers that I ever had in my life till this day. The guy was amazing. Great guy. Loved the guy. He, coached me. He was a mentor to me when I was young. Always had extreme confidence in my ability. Would always try to teach me stuff. And my thoughts and condolences and prayers go out to the Simonelli family. And if anybody knew Bob Sr., he was a great guy, and love him, and wish all the best for the family.
So how long did what happened with Rainbow Lanes?
Rainbow Lanes was the center in Brooklyn that was not owned by John LaSpina. John LaSpina owned Gil Hodges Lanes. He owned Maple Lanes at the time. And when I was about 16 or 17 years old, right when I was leaving for college, John LaSpina bought out Bob Simonelli and Rainbow. And then John, being the proprietor that he is, closed the center down because it was his competition. Rainbow Lanes closed up, and they turned it into at the time, some kind of like fun center. Brooklyn bowling was never the same once Rainbow Lanes closed. I'll be honest with you. They had a amazing scratch league there on, I believe it was Tuesday, Wednesday nights. A lot of action used to take place there at night. It was an old school bowling center. It was a really unique place. It had two levels, and you had to go downstairs to bowl in the basement, and then you had to go upstairs to bowl upstairs. And Brooklyn bowling was never the same once Rainbow Lanes closed. A lot of fun times in Rainbow Lanes, a lot of high school matches, because Sheepshead Bay High School at the time was that was their home center. So we used to go there. I learned how to keep score manually at Rainbow Lanes because they were one of the last centers to go into a computer scoring. So we were pretty much forced to learn how to keep score manually, which is kind of a lost art these days in bowling, I think. If anybody knew Bob, I mean, this guy, he loved bowling. His whole life was bowling. I mean, he was drilling balls for the best in the world. His knowledge of the sport was amazing. Coaching, teaching, just everything about what he did was amazing growing up. And everyone's gonna miss Bob. He was an amazing guy, and I actually had a chance to talk with him last year, and I haven't spoke to him in decades. And we were able to touch base and connect, and we talked for a little bit. And I talked with his John and Steve, and I haven't talked to them in a while. The Simo brothers, and Junior, of course, I see who lives in Vegas, who's they're one of their oldest sons. So, and Mike's familiar with Junior because Junior bowled a lot of action in a lot of leagues around the Brooklyn area. So, man, I just heard that news and it just kind of got me a little bit. So, yeah.
And when Rainbow Lanes closed, was that the end of his career in the bowling industry, period, or just in Brooklyn, or where did his bowling story go from there?
From what I know, the family moved out to like the North Carolina area. I know they opened up like a pizza place, so they didn't get back in the bowling. They were a restaurant. I think Bob like retired. I don't think Bob was involved in any kind of bowling proprietorship after that. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just one of those that news that you hear that you just like, man, like someone who molded you as a bowler as a young kid growing up, passes away. It's just sad, to hear.
No doubt. No doubt. Feel that. Probably a reflection of our own age too, no?
I mean, yeah, I mean, hey, Father Time gets us all, right? There's no beating the time it's just gonna get all of us. We all get old. But yeah, just when you start seeing people that you grew up with and that coached you and you remember as just being there and always like having good stories and always wanting to ask about Mark Roth and ask about this and ask about that. You always had those guys in the bowling centers growing up. You know what I mean, Mike? Like those old guys that, Bob wasn't really old at the time either. He was a younger guy, but just always have the great stories. You always want to be around and asking questions and just, trying to absorb all the knowledge that they had as a younger kid. Great. He was a great guy. And Louis Gaudio knows Bob really well. I got to read it.
I'll let you read that. Yeah, I think
Sure.
that's
Yeah. Bob
fair
is a
point.
master of ball drilling way before inserts and exact drill presses. He was a craftsman. When he drilled the ball in the 70s and 80s, it was a multi-hour process because he was dedicated to giving customer his full attention. It didn't matter the level of bowler. I think that is a lost art. And I'm so happy you made that comment because I used to spend hours, and I'm not talking like an hour. When I was drilling one or two bowling balls, I would be there for at least 3 to 4 hours. It was almost an all-day affair when I would drill bowling balls as a kid. I'm talking like 15, 16, and we were competitive bowlers at the time. So, it was pretty serious. It wasn't just drilling like for like a 5-year-old kid. It was, they used to literally spend time feeling out, beveling the thumb, making sure that the thumb was right on, spot on. They used to open up lanes, watch me throw the ball, make any adjustments I needed to, give me a free lesson. Shit, like at that point, like go into the pro shop, touch the ball a little bit more, back on the lanes. How's it feel? Feels better. Okay, let me open this. Let me do that. I mean, customer service, I mean, it was amazing. You look back at it, right? And I think that might be a little bit of a lost art right now in the bowling world where probably the bowling pro shop owners aren't really doing that. But, if you have a pro shop owner, people at home that's spending time with you, that's watching you throw shots, that's fitting your hand, that's making sure that everything is right on your bowling ball, like keep going, keep supporting that pro shop owner, keep giving him that business because those are the people that care about your game and they want to see you get better. And Bob was the epitome of that. I mean, he used to, first thing I would walk into the pro shop in the bowling center, he'd be like, well, how'd you bowl in the JBT this weekend? What'd you do? And I'd be like, well, I didn't bowl good, Bob. Why? Well, I struggled here, I couldn't do this. Well, let's work on it. Get your shoes on, we're going on the lanes. And I'm like, shit, okay, damn, I was just coming here to like get a ball drilled or just say hello, but now I'm going to be pretty much working. And you could call him Miyagi in a way, right? Because that's kind of what he was. Someone who cared about you, wanted to see you succeed in life, as well as see you develop your craft. So, my thoughts and condolences to Bob Simonelli Sr. And to the family. And yeah, I'm gonna miss the guy. He was amazing.
No doubt. No doubt. Well said. All right, let's move forward.
Sorry to start but I feel like it was the big
No, it's
news to me. I
okay. I
just
mean,
found out.
and listen, like there's a lot of I'm going to use a strange phrase, but unknown legends. You know what I'm saying? I know that that's an oxymoron, but like it's very true about a lot of people in the bowling community because there's a lot of like legendary people in the bowling community,
Yeah.
like Bob Simonelli, right?
Mhm.
Who even a lot of people in the bowling community don't know about, you know. And
Yeah.
I also think about, you know, you brought up pro shop operators today versus pro shop operators back then. Like, how many pro shop operators are there today that came up in the game? You know what I'm saying? That learned the
Yeah, I don't know.
trade from a that learned the trade from somebody who had been in the business for 20 plus years.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't think there's many. I really don't
I
think
don't
there's
know.
many. You know, a lot of the pro shop operators that I see are new to the game. You know, their passion for bowling came at a point where it intertwined with their passion for business, and that's how they got in the pro shop business, as opposed to having a deep love for the game and being schooled in the kind of customer service and
So
skill that you're talking about.
I think, like, if you have a pro shop operator out there that is interested in the money and making financial gains in his life as a pro shop operator, you're probably in the wrong business as a pro shop operator. Owning a pro shop is not a wealthy career. You're not going to be able to retire early being a pro shop operator. Now, if you own maybe 5, 10, 15 pro shops, different ball game, right? Then you're talking more of a franchise than you are a pro shop. But if you find the pro shop operator who's a mom pop shop, right? It's his only shop, it's his only business. Trust me, people, he's not in it or she's not in it for the money. She's or he's in it for the love of the game and wanting to give back to the game, maybe as they were, as they were getting a lot from the game. So those people that care about your fit, they care about your performance, they're giving you lessons for free, they're not charging you for stuff, they're just kind of, they're invested in your ability as a bowler as well as your personal life. Those are the pro shop operators you want to spend your money in, support them, spread the word, right? Because as a kid, there was a lot of pro shops around my area, right? In Brooklyn, there was Maple Lanes, Gil Hodges Lanes, DeReese, which was not even in a bowling center, and then there was Rainbow, and we didn't find out about Bob Simonelli and his pro shop in Rainbow until a little bit later in my life. Like, now, maybe when I was 14 or 15 is when I really started seeing his success. Is when I started to be around Bob Simonelli Sr. and his pro shop in Rainbow, and that's when I really started seeing amazing results as a kid, because the fit was good, it was perfect, and it was really important at the time to have an amazing fit. It still is, right? So yeah, that would be my just advice to people out there. If you have a pro shop in your area that's investing and that's really a mom pop shop, support them instead of buying a ball online and kind of getting it just drilled. And just kind of like going from pro shop to pro shop. Once you find someone, stay there, support them.
Yeah, no doubt. This is a good point by Tim too. Back then there weren't as many bowling balls either, and a lot of pro shop operators were still, doing great things for their customers. I think I don't want to get deep into this conversation, but just to pose a question, like how much has the the increase in ball releases changed the pro shop business over that time,
It's a good
right? And I
question.
mean
Yeah,
that
it's a
that
good question.
that's
I
something,
mean,
that's a question I'd really like to hear from a longtime pro shop operator on. I mean, has that business become more about just pumping out product as opposed to what you're talking about and the experiences that you're talking about? I don't know.
right.
I'm not
I'm
saying
not
it
either.
is. I'm questioning. But yeah, definitely something that I think would be interesting to get
Yeah,
into.
I'm sure we have some pro shop operators out in our chat or listening. I know we do for a fact. So if you're in the chat
I
right
can
now or
tell you
you're
one
listening,
that's not going to come on. I can't tell you
yeah.
any that are going to come on, but I can tell you one that's not going to come on.
Yeah, if you're in the chat and you own a pro shop or work in a pro shop, like, is it like that today, or are you guys just interested in selling a new product? Are people actually asking for advice or lessons on how to physically throw the ball better instead of drilling, or what the newest release is? Because like I said before in previous shows, that we're in a bowling ball epidemic, and it's not the customer's fault. It's not the people out there's fault. We're in an epidemic. It's just the nature of the bowling ball industry and where we are in this industry. So let's see. Lumberflexual in the chat, who's always got some great comments for us. I'm a bit torn. My current PSO has drilled all my balls, including my virtual gravity 14 years ago when I was a kid, before it started to get serious. But they're starting to. Oh, he's going to get into a good one here, a good story. So keep. I'm curious to see what you.
There's a part. There's a part 2 coming to that post.
There might be a part 3 in that story.
Oh,
Used to make consistencies from
go.
ball to ball.
Part 2's posted.
Yeah. If you're having inconsistencies from your pro shop operator, I think that's the most important part of a pro shop operator is being consistent, right? Especially with all the new balls you're going to drill. The worst thing you could have is someone who's drilling 6 balls 6 different ways, 6 different spans, not hitting the lines, drilling them differently. Thumbs feel different. I would advise everybody who drills more than, maybe 1 or 2, 3 balls a year to go to a switch grip on your thumb. It's probably one of the best technology inventions in bowling in the last, I don't know how long it's been, but we didn't have that as kids. We didn't have switch grips when we were kids. And I remember we had to spend numerous hours in every thumb, drilling the thumbs out,
and then taping it.
And then taping it. Now you have a switch grip. I drill one from my spare ball so that it never leaves my spare ball, and I use it as a second in case I need it. And then you have another one that you could easily pop out and in of bowling balls, and you have the same thumb fit at least. Span is a whole different ball game. If your pro shop operator is not hitting his span or not hitting the lines, then I would suggest you probably find someone who would. And reminds me of a Seinfeld episode where Jerry has been getting a haircut from the same guy for 20 years, and his haircut sucks. And he's just feels like loyal to this guy, but he gets the worst haircut. Like, you gotta get away from the guy that's not drilling your shit the right way and find someone who would.
Feel you. It's funny that you bring up the idea of, coaching and lessons and stuff. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, because I'm not going to go as far as to say that I miss coaching high school. I don't, because it just wasn't the right place for me. But I do. It's not that I miss coaching. It's that if I had an opportunity, the right opportunity, I would like to coach. I do enjoy coaching the game. I think that I'm good at spreading passion for the game. And
you're passionate, all right.
Yeah, and I had
to give you spirited passion. That's definitely traits that I would probably put as your top of your list.
True. So I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and I just said, I was talking to them about how much money there is in youth activities in general. I go to a lot of stuff for kids, piano lessons for my younger one.
You own the
dance class.
Forget it.
Dance. I don't even want to talk about it. I mean,
the money pumping out into the dance studio.
People wouldn't even believe me. Okay, but and then I go to soccer, which is another big one. Like I take my daughter right now to a soccer class at 7:50 a.m. on Saturday morning. Okay. 7:50 a.m. on Saturday morning, because she has dance in the afternoon a lot of Saturdays, so we got to go early. Rob, the place is packed. I mean, you can't even get a parking spot. That's how crowded it is. And it's that crowded all day. They have hour and a half long classes all day, right? So I was thinking a lot over the last couple of weeks about, man, look at all the money in youth sports. Look at all the money that parents are willing to pour into these activities for their kids. But you want to know where you don't see that?
Bowling.
You don't see it. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day who has done some coaching. And, I said, yeah, could you imagine if we were coaches at the level that we are in bowling for golf or basketball or soccer or something, we would be able to open a training center, because we'd have that many people who want to come and work with us and get better and improve their skill in that sport. And in bowling, you just don't see it.
You can't even blame it on the fact that the Professional Bowling Association doesn't pay. You can't even blame that, because look at dance. I mean, there's really no professional dance. So maybe I'm sure there
No,
is,
there is.
but
There is.
but in reality, though, like
We went to see the Rockettes last Sunday
I
with
know,
the
but like
dance team. So
I, I know, but what I'm trying to say is like it's not like I could understand parents pouring money into golf and basketball and football and sports that maybe your kids could succeed and have $1 million career. But dance is a something where that's probably not going to happen. You know what I mean?
yeah, they're not.
Now,
I'll tell you. They're at this point. They're not even after the $1 million career. They're after the college scholarship. That's what they're all after. But go ahead.
right, but nobody realizes that girl bowling scholarships. Like if I had to tell you, Mike, like to get your daughters involved, I'd tell them to get involved in bowling because you know what, they're giving out scholarships like candy in the NCAA for the women. Honestly, like if and with your coaching and your hookups and your knowledge and your people that you could get your daughters like learning from guys like Bill and Pelusic. I'm just saying like they could have a really good high school and college career and probably get full scholarships if you really wanted them to. You know
That's
what I mean?
that's Plan C, son.
Well, you better get them on the lane,
We
pal.
haven't enacted that plan
I
yet.
always
We
tell
got
my
some
friends who
time.
have daughters that aren't bowlers, like, yo, get them in the bowling because like they scholarships in NCAA for women are there, and there's a lot of them. Guys, on the other hand, the guys are not NCAA, so it's harder to get any kind of money or scholarships for guys. I mean, we've been down that road. I mean, shit, I was one of the most well recruited high school bowlers coming out as a kid, and I was lucky to get even an in-state tuition. The scholarship that I got was literally just from the junior bowlers tour and all the other crap that we used to bowl as kids. But
Yeah,
full scholarship,
they found ways to give you money,
they
right?
did, but it wasn't
Right.
like someone who was the one of the top junior bowlers in
No,
the East Coast.
no,
I mean, if
no.
it was any other sport, I would have had a full ride. I would have been. I saw Caleb Williams driving on a Ferrari on a YouTube video or whatever. I'm like, man, this is good. This guy is already driving a Ferrari. Like, if that was bowling, shit, he'd be taking an Uber to wherever he needed to go or a cab. Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, we
you
can.
have a couple
Yeah,
people in the
go ahead.
chat commenting. You know, Mike says money spent on kids sports insane. I had two boys in travel hockey and baseball, so he knows. Lou says, and I know Lou's daughter plays softball at a really high level. Her team would actually won a New Jersey state championship last year. He says, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on softball and baseball lessons for my kids. Yeah, I mean, the dance is serious. The soccer money is not as serious right now, but I definitely dropped some dough on soccer too. But my point is this is a bowling podcast. It's not a kids sports podcast. But my point is that you don't really see this in bowling. And
No,
that's a problem. That's a
no.
big problem,
I'm
right?
hoping we can get there one day.
Well, and listen, I'm going to go back to my old soapbox, and I'm going to say that a lot of that has to do with how easy they are and how easy it is to become proficient at the game. You
Well,
know,
it's
you
always
get the right
bowling too.
ball,
Still bowling.
you learn how to throw it a little bit. You really don't need much instruction, I would say. You know, especially with YouTube and various sources out there now, to really become proficient at this. You know, pretty quickly. So
Yeah, lack of money on the PBA tour is probably another one that keeps a lot of kids for parents from putting kids into the sport. If they were paying golf money, now
yeah.
golf's a hard comparison because golf is outdoors. It's it's a whole different when it comes to sporting events. Golf is way different than bowling. The activity itself of hitting a golf ball is very similar in a mental aspect to bowling, but it's a completely different game and a completely different set of like outside factors.
That's a good point by Charlie too. The cost of bowling is prohibitive, especially right now. You know, I mean, how much it is
Yeah,
per game, and just
Tim knows about this. He spent money on his two girls.
yeah. No, we talked about that.
Yeah,
we talked about
crazy.
that at length when he came
I
out
know,
with
but like, what
Eddie.
really? And I always wondered that, and like, I could understand I'm not a parent, so I don't get it. But like, I rather if I'm a parent, I'd rather invest the money in a soccer or into a sport that maybe they can like get a real big scholarship from. And I don't know if that's out there in dance really. Like I kind of feel like dance is just I mean, they'll be really good at their wedding, right? Receptions, like getting down, but like will they really the money really return on the investment? I mean, yeah, it's good for them as kids to be involved in that shit. And I'm not going to take that away. But as for like an investment as a parent, is it worth the money spent on dance?
Right.
I'd rather have them spend it on bowling where they could get an NCAA scholarship. Honestly, like I guarantee you, the smarter money would say put them in the bowling, But the girls don't want to bowl; they want to dance. They want to do what their friends are doing. Like
Right.
bowling's not cool. What kind of girl? I mean, shit. Like I don't know how girls get into bowling, but I mean, it's just it's a very like stereotype sport. You know what I mean?
Right.
You got a lot of people, man, in the chat today. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. Let's get into a little bit of. I know we kind of veered off a little bit. How's the Thanksgiving? Did you get a chance to do any bowling? Did you probably?
Well, I mean, you want my league review? I got 2
Yeah,
league
go ahead,
reviews.
because I got some stuff going on myself. So
yeah, Thanksgiving was fine. Low key, it was all good. So nice holiday. Hope everybody had a peaceful Thanksgiving. League review. Oh my goodness. The last league review I did, we bowled on the new medium pattern for the first time, Alcatraz. And
I remember you said that last time we were on that
it
you
was
were in
tough.
prison.
It
Did you
was
bowl
tough.
Alcatraz again?
No. So the following week, the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, that we didn't have a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going back 2 weeks.
Sure.
We bowled on the new long pattern for the first time, and it was the Eiffel Tower was the name of the pattern. Kegel
Are these
Eiffel
Kegel
Tower.
patterns?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
Kegel patterns. Yeah.
Okay.
Kegel Eiffel Tower, and that shit made me want to jump off of the tower.
So
Okay.
Alcatraz had you in jail, and now the Eiffel Tower
was
making
even
you
worse, bro. I hate to say it. I know the haters are gonna love this. The haters are gonna love hearing this.
I'm not a hater,
and
and
I'm gonna
love
say
it.
it again. I'm gonna say it again. Like, you want to come bowl me? I'm there every Tuesday. So you want action? I will give you action on this same pattern if you come. If you come and we have it out. I went sub 500
again.
I did. I went sub 500 for the
Yeah.
first time. For the
Back to
first
back.
time in like a year and a half, probably.
Back to back 400s, huh?
No. I wasn't sub 500 on Alcatraz. I wasn't
Oh.
sub. I was like 540. I was like 540 on
So
Alcatraz.
are you just
So I
not?
thought
Are you not throwing
Alcatraz
it
was
good?
hard.
Are you missing spares? Like, give it a quick high level, like why you bowling so shitty.
I mean, well, first of all, I just didn't have a look the entire night.
Stefan wants a piece, man. He wants to smoke. He in the chat.
I'll be honest. I don't want to smoke with Steph right now. Tuesday, Rob, he shot like 690 scratch.
Yeah,
he's
you
averaging.
500.
He probably gets like 30 pins a game. He shot 690 scratch. I think he won high scratch series.
Damn,
so
sounds like
he's throwing it good right
going
now.
off a little bit, which might be a little bit. Stick around, people, because I got the greatest worst of the week.
Yeah, so they were just hard. I really
No.
didn't have a look at all. Like, nothing I did produced a look until the last game when I switched to a Motive Venom Shock and got in a little bit, and that seemed to give me a decent look that I could execute. But it was just ugly, tough pattern, very tough pattern. So then fast forward to this past Tuesday. We bowled on the short again, and I think I found a sport pattern that I can pretty confidently say if I bowled on it for a full season, I could probably average 210 or better.
Purple hammer up the gutter.
Purple hammer, right up the gut, swing it to the gut, plenty of hook right, a little bit of hold left, just what I like to see. You can really wham on it, and yeah, I mean, I didn't even bowl that good this week. But I did bowl good. My spare shooting was atrocious. I left less than 9. I bowled on the same pair all 3 games, first of all. Drew a card for the same pair all 3 games. Bowled on the same pair all 3 games. Did not get less than 9, except for 1 shot the entire night. Okay, I got 9 or better every shot except for 1 shot, and I only shot about 620. Yeah, I mean, I think I missed 4 10 pins, maybe 5 10 pins.
What's the update on entries? How many entries did you get?
Entries are okay. I mean, we're doing okay. Like, we're not. I don't feel like we're on life support anymore. We were for a little bit there, but I don't feel like we're there anymore.
Those are the risks, though, of running a league that people aren't committed. All right, you're gonna go in the waves, right? Like during the holiday season, maybe you might have a little bit downward.
Well, listen, they don't want to listen to me. I'm not really in charge of it anymore. and the people
Okay.
who are in charge of it don't really want to take my advice about how to do it. But I agree with you that if you're gonna make it optional, you need to make it less opportunities to participate, because the more opportunities you give people, the more times they're going to say, I'm not going to go this week. Whereas if you give them more limited opportunities, they're going to value the opportunities they have to participate and be like, oh no, I'm going to go because there's only 18 weeks of this and I want to bowl
We-
all 18.
You know what?
You know,
You guys should do, and this could bring. I know you don't run it anymore, but you guys should like talk about if you run an 18-week whatever it is, and you show up 15 of the 18 or make a number, then you qualify for like an end of the year type.
yeah,
Like,
we're already doing that. We
oh,
already do that.
if you're there
Yeah.
for a certain amount of
Yeah, if
weeks,
it's 9-week sessions, and if you bowl
uh-huh.
6 out of the 9 weeks, then you qualify for overall prizes.
Oh, well, that's something. That's good. I didn't
Yeah,
know you guys were doing that, but
yeah,
that helps
and
at least a little bit.
and every session we've run so far, if you bowl 6 of the 9 weeks, I've run a ball raffle and raffled
Oh,
off a ball.
look at
That
you.
if you show up for 6 of the 9 weeks, you're in a ball raffle. You win a free
Oh,
ball.
yeah,
And
this,
there's only like 12 people in the raffle, so you got like a 1 in 12 chance of winning
yeah.
a free ball.
Nico brings
So
up the point that I was trying to make a few weeks back. Did you ever get a pro or talk to somebody to come maybe do
no,
a
I
clinic?
haven't. So I actually, it's funny. I want to bring up Lou's comment and just say thanks, Lou. I don't think it has anything to do with me, but I wasn't sitting it out because of any reason. I just was busy. But I will say, I don't think that something like that should be run in the first 9 weeks of the season. I just don't think it works. I don't think people want to come out right away and start bowling on it right away. I think you're better off waiting a few weeks, starting in October, starting maybe in the second week of October, something like that. I don't think that it should be 36 weeks overall. I think that maybe 27 is enough. Maybe even 18 is enough.
Damn,
So
your boy shoots 690. He's getting a big head now. And he thinks he's the shit. He's
yeah,
tough
no,
mindset
yeah,
aside that he's already there every week. So why do you
yeah,
need a pro?
yeah. No,
Oh, all
so
right, well,
so I have not tried to arrange that, but I'm going to the training center on Sunday. I got a lane booked on Sunday at 9:30. There's a guy Andrew coming down from New York who hit us up through the email and wanted to come down and check the training center out and bowl on some patterns, I think, for the first time. So didn't work out exactly as planned. I'm glad to report that the training center rev rates anyway. Maybe not. I don't know about training center, but the entertainment piece of the place is doing excellent, because I called on Monday and was like, "Hey, can I get a pair for an hour and a half on Saturday at 12 o'clock?" And they were like, "No, we're booked up from 12 o'clock on all day." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
that's good.
I said, "How about Sunday?" And they were like, "No, we're booked Sunday, 12 o'clock on all day." I'm like, "Okay."
That's good news.
I said, "How about next weekend?" They were like, "No. In fact, all the way till the end of the year, we're booked Saturdays and Sundays from 12 o'clock on."
That's good news. You want
Oh,
to
it's
hear that?
great. That's
That's
great.
great news.
That's great, right?
Down
So
if you want to practice them.
yeah, so I had to I had to call this guy back and say, "Yo, listen, like, do you want me to book something for 9:30 a.m.? Like, you're
Yeah,
traveling from a far distance, but if you want me to book it for 9:30 a.m., I will. I mean, I'm not coming from far." So he said, "Yeah, go ahead." He wanted to come down this weekend. He wanted to get it in. So
that's cool.
yeah, I got that on Sunday, and I'm going to talk to them on Sunday. I'm going to, whether whoever's there, I'm going to just mention it and say, "Listen, we do this on Tuesday nights. If anybody ever wants to come over, hang out for a little bit, promote the training center, check out what we got going on, feel free to come by."
That's cool. Well, cool. A good league report there. I got some bowling. So I was in Vegas for Thanksgiving for a few days. And I ended up at the Red Rock on Friday. I brought some of my stuff with me just to practice because I knew I was going to bowl the tat last weekend. The Arizona tat, at least they called it. So I practiced a little bit. Came to tat, and if anybody ever bowled a tat, they run these free VIPs when you enter. So it's like a 2-game sweeper. And then the main tournament is 3-game qualifying for finals on Sunday. First time in the bowling center, the VIP. I'm in practice, and I have a decent looking practice. So I'm in bracket. I go to brackets, and they're like, "How many brackets do you guys have?" And they're like, "Oh, about 12 or 13." I'm like, "All right, perfect." So I'm like, "Give me like 12." So I go in 12 brackets. Have a great look, Mike. I'm using a purple hammer, right? Playing exactly kind of where you would expect me to be playing with a purple hammer. And I go, the scores are low too, keep in mind. I'm looking around, I'm not seeing anybody really bowling anything over like 215. I go like front 5, open like 3 in a row. I would go like 245, 226 in the sweeper, right? I'm like, man, I must have crowbarred the brackets because I'm literally thinking I swept the brackets because I didn't see anybody have any scores in the whole place. And I go to the bracket where they pay out, and they're like, "Oh, you won 6." I'm like, "I won 6." I was like, the 2-game brackets. If anybody's ever bowled 2-game brackets, you bowl against 2 people the first game. Oh, I'm sorry, you bowl one person, then your totals is the 3rd game. So now I'm thinking, shit, I'm 470. Like, no one's beating me the 3rd game. I must have crushed them. And then I look at the first, they're like 6. So I'm like, all right. So I go to the brackets, and I'm looking at my name, who beat me the first game because I bowled 245. I saw someone bowl 271. 271. So I went over to the lady doing the brackets. I'm like, were these scratch brackets or handicap brackets? They were like, oh, we're just combined both of them. I said, excuse me? They're like, yeah, those are handicap and scratch brackets. I'm like, so they're handicap brackets. I'm in the scratch division, so I wasn't getting any pins. She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, fuck me. I was so angry because honestly, Mike, if I knew those were handicap brackets, I would have never went in them. Never. You know that. There's no chance I'm going in as a scratch bowler to bowl handicap brackets. Now with a bunch of sandbagging motherfuckers out there, I ain't going close. So I ended up winning 6. I made a few money. Go to bowl the main event, right? Which is the 3 games right after. And I start the game 220, and I'm still using the purple hammer, right? But you could see the reaction starting to lose it a little bit, right? And that's the thing about, we always talk about, and I've talked about on the show numerous times with guys like Jesper and Jacob, when they're bowling on TV and they're using a urethane, right? A purple hammer, it's pitch black, and they don't have it, and they could see it leaving. The hardest thing is to switch out of it into a performance ball. And I think that's why the not urethane hammer, yeah, I know, right? Mama Mia was running the brackets.
Mama Mia was running the brackets.
So
crush it all.
That's the thing about the new that I could see maybe being a really good complement to the purple, because once you're trying to get out of the purple hammer, that might be a good bowl to transition to, because you're not going into reactive, you're kind of going into something in between. But I have a blank new right now sitting in my dining room that I got to drill. But anyway, the next game, exactly what happened. I start out first three, and I have 220 and like 640s making it. All right. So I'm like, I just got to be like close. And then here it comes, bucket, 2-8, flat 10. I didn't want to switch out of it because I knew 640 was making it. I just wanted to get through that game until I got to performance in the next game, which was the plan, to switch, grind it out until the fill, make a switch in the fill to performance, see what's up, and then go to the next pair. And that's exactly what I did. But I ended up bowling like 190 something. And then the last game, I moved to a performance, and then it was pocket 710, double. Like, it just kind of grinded out like a 590 or something like that, and I missed it. The next day, they had one last qualifying squad, and it was on the fresh, which was the VIP was on the fresh. And I'm like, man, I got a great look on the fresh with that purple. I probably should bowl. And then, dude, I was so tired from 5 games. My hand hurt. I had a cut, all of it, right? I literally like was in bed at like 7 a.m. and my alarm went off. And I'm like, bro, I don't even want to, I'm good. So I literally slept in. I went to the gym. I tried to stretch. I did all the things. But yeah, so that was my bowling. Close. I'm getting closer, to say the least. Feeling good. Gonna practice this weekend. I don't really have anything to bowl tournament wise until New Year's, December 31st. They're running a complete bowling event.
Okay.
And then yeah, I registered for the TAT in February. I got the Masters coming up, so I'm starting to get ready. I'll probably maybe hit B3 up this weekend, maybe. Bolero now Sunday nights at my local center has all you can bowl for $13 at 6 o'clock at night Sunday. Perfect for me just to get the blood flowing. But anyway, all right, Mike, we went 40 minutes. We haven't really talked anything.
Oh my God, we're going dumb overtime tonight.
Oh, Theo was asking me what the brackets combined at. It was handicap brackets. So the TAT VIP, they had handicap scratch brackets. I didn't know I went in scratch brackets, thinking I was going to scratch brackets.
Yeah, you thought you went in scratch, you went in handicap.
I thought I went in scratch. Anybody have any stories like that in the chat where you went into thinking you went scratch brackets and ended up being handicap brackets and then someone bowled 271 against you? Fun time for me. But yeah, I feel good. It's been good the last week or two. All right, Mike, where do you want to go into? I know there's been some bowling stuff going on. We talked legends when we first got into the show about Bob Simonelli Sr. You want to talk into some news on a new legend that we heard?
That reinstated their card.
You know what I feel like? Okay, I feel like when Rocky Balboa. In the Rocky Balboa, in Rocky like 6, when he was an old guy, and he got it reinstated by the boxing commission because he was coming out of retirement. I feel like this news is similar to that, right? Where news on the street, right? And you heard this. I don't know where you heard it from. I reached out to him to see if I could get him on, and he's ignored me again. Rudy Revs Casamakis, the fucking legend, the OG action guy, the guy that I have been dying to get on this show, was reinstated and got his PBA card, right? So PBA 50, Rudy Revs, man, that would be fantastic. You want to talk about?
Yeah, that's like, oh my God, it's like must see. That's like must see sports entertainment for me, bro.
Yo, if there was any time a PBA 50 should be on television, it would be the show that Rudy Revs made the show in the PBA 50. And his swing he'll be 85 years old, and that swing will still be up here, and he'd still get more rev rate than most two-handers, right?
Or a lot of two-handers, yeah.
A lot of two-handers.
For sure.
So we'll see what happens. I don't know where that news came from, Mike. I don't know if you heard that, and he never answered me. I sent him a message.
Well, I was told he posted it on Facebook.
Ooh, I'm going right now. I gotta go. I didn't see it.
Yeah, I was told that he posted it on Facebook.
Dude, that he got his pro card. I'd be so freaking hype if I saw that.
And Kevin's asking in the chat, was he suspended? No, he wasn't suspended. But I guess he had dropped his card, and he then picked his card back up. Lou was saying it came from him. It did. I didn't want to say that just in case you didn't want me to say it, Lou, but it did come from Lou. Lou posted something on Facebook about his bowling plans, and Rudy reached out to him and told him, "Yeah, I got my card reinstated." And then he posted it on Lou's thread that he has the same PBA number too.
Dude, it comes from Tony knows. Tony knows. Tony Rose Amelia, another legend. We need to get on the show.
Kingpin. Check the documentary. Look it up on YouTube.
Dude, that's amazing. So, I would love to see him start winning some PBA 50 events or making shows.
So me and Lou, we bowl on Tuesday nights, and we spent a lot of time on Tuesday night just talking about Rudy and the legend of Rudy Revs, and like, I don't know. I mean, two of the points that I made to Lou in our discussion was that it's just it's so crazy now to think that that bowling was so thriving and was so in such a great position in a time like in the late 80s and early 90s, even, right, when Rudy was Rudy, okay, that guys could make a living not even being a professional, just by bowling events, bowling local events, bowling action.
Nope.
and today, forget about it. Like you couldn't do that. You could win. Lou threw out a number and said he wouldn't be surprised if, like, in those years, Rudy was making upwards of 200,000 a year.
I,
Just bowling side hustle stuff like
I
tournaments,
guarantee you he was
brackets.
making more than that. I guarantee you he was probably making more than that. You talked about legends that there isn't a lot, like some legends in the game of bowling that people don't know about. Rudy's legend would be so much more if actually the stories and his a documentary or something really came out and really some of the nobody has any idea of some of the shit and stories that this guy was in the middle of. And this like folks, it's like folks tales, like when we were kids, it was like growing up, it was like people used to hear legend of like this person and that person. We heard stories of Rudy Revs, right? That was what we heard stories about growing up as kids, and like, man, I loved Rudy listening. I crossed with him in a New Year's tournament, for one of the Carolee or New Year's Day tournaments, 10 game, like it was the marathon, man. And when I found out I was crossing with him, it's like crossing with your like idol and like great guy and just having a good time with him. He's a fun dude when you bowl with him. But man, I'm telling you, they need to do a 30 for 30. Mike is talking in the chat on Rudy Revs. And it's too bad that they really, really do. And I think people would be enthralled with the 30 for 30 on Rudy Revs. Non-bowlers would be enthralled with some of the shit that he was a part of.
There's no bowler that I would rather see make a successful comeback at the PBA 50 level than Rudy fucking Revs, bro. I never curse on this podcast, but I'm gonna curse. I'm gonna curse because, like,
I was gonna say it's the first time I've ever heard you curse, and I love it.
I mean,
I
honest
hope
to God,
Rudy's
honest
listening
to
to
God,
this.
like I will.
I hope he's listening to this,
man,
because I would please, for the love of God, respond to me
come on the
anytime,
show,
any
man.
day you want to
Can't
come
any
on.
of you guys get a hold of him and be like, "Yo, this is the perfect outlet for you to come on and
Dude, I would
put
call
something
in
out
sick
there for the
work.
bowling community that the community can come and watch and hear some of this stuff and learn about some of this stuff." It's like,
Mike,
but
I would call in sick.
it brings up other questions to me. It brings up other questions to me because eventually Rudy did go out on tour, right?
He did.
It didn't go smashingly well, right?
It didn't, but he proved that he could be there because he made back-to-back shows.
He
And
did. He
proved
did.
that he was
I
good.
went to the show in Bryant Park when they had the outside show in Bryant Park. I went to that. So here's my question, and again, this came up in the conversation with Lou the other night. Should Rudy have gone?
We gotta get Tony on the show. He can tell us some of the stories. Tony says I roomed with him in '99 on tour. My God, you have no idea. Oh, that should be the name of the documentary. My God, you have no idea.
So my question is this: I'll phrase it two different ways. Should he have gone out on tour earlier when he was more quote unquote in his prime, or if he would have gone out on tour earlier, would there have been a better chance that he rose to success and rose to real prominence in the bowling world?
So, if there was any time where you could say the introduction of resin hurt someone's career, I would say it was Rudy. If the tour stayed urethane and wood lanes, Rudy would have probably could have been, a numerous tour titleist, because Rudy was able to outhook. And I mean, they called the guy Rudy Revs. I mean, there was a reason why his nickname was Rudy Revs, because he could outhook anybody with any kind of bowling ball, right? It didn't matter what he was throwing. The guy could kill you on the revs. And when performance came out, I think hurt his game in a sense, right? Because of the fact now people were able to hook the ball like him with these new performance balls, right?
Right.
So and I would love to get his feedback. If I was to ever interview and have a story, I would love to ask him that question. Did the introduction of performance really catch up everybody to your game, right? Because this guy was a two-handed bowler with one hand. There wasn't anybody that had that rev rate that he had. Maybe you could see Robert Smith and maybe a few other people that were close. But I mean, that's really what it came down to. This guy was bowling two-handed with a one hand in an era where, it the revs mattered, right? So, and I would love to hear Tony his opinion on that too. Did the introduction of performance really hurt Rudy from being one of the all-time greats on tour? Because eventually, I do think he would have went on tour. I think, you know what I mean, really full time on tour. But that's a whole nother question. But anyway, love to see Rudy. Love to see him get back on the PBA. Get back,
Rudy.
Rudy
Let's go, bro. Let's go. Let's
if
go.
Anybody doesn't know my Rudy.
Yo, I think you cut out on us, Rob. I can't hear you. I think you cut out on us there for a second.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
There you go.
Anyway.
All right, let's keep it moving. So let's talk PBA schedule. No?
Yeah, it's funny. I was trying to look at some of the changes that were made or some of the more information out there on the PBA website. God forbid you go on the PBA website and find something you need to find. And I was actually trying to find it. And I couldn't really find it, but I know you have an idea of some of the additions they made, right?
It's funny because I went and I looked for the same thing and I couldn't find it either. But give me 1 second here.
I was looking and I couldn't find it. I swear I looked for a half hour and I got frustrated and was just like,
okay, so I have it brought up. If you go to the PBA website and just go to the schedule, right?
Yeah.
Then they it'll pop up with it. So it goes. I'm just going to go through it quickly. Okay, sure. PBA January 9th it kicks off. Okay, Bolero, North Rock.
Yeah. Okay, I got
PBA
it.
Players Championship. Then you got the U.S. Open. There's a break. There's actually a break. The Players Championship ends January 15th, and the U.S. Open starts January 27th. That's at Woodland, Royal Pin Woodland in Indianapolis. Then you have the PBA Illinois Classic. You have the PBA Missouri Classic, PBA Indiana Classic.
P. Weber Classic
is going to be honored at that, right? You have the PBA Delaware Classic. Okay, those are the weeks of February 4th, February 12th, February 18th, February 26th. Then you have the USBC Masters, March 24th. Okay, so there's like a 3-week break between that Delaware Classic and the USBC Masters. Then you have the PBA World Series of Bowling. Okay, that's almost a full month, April 3rd to April 21st at Thunder Bowl in Allen Park.
That is a
then you have the Roth-Holman. Okay, all of these are taking place within that. So that's going to be the Roth-Holman Doubles Championship, the Cheetah Championship, Scorpion Championship, Shark Championship, World Championship. Okay. PBA Tournament of Champions, April 22nd to April 28th in Ohio at Riviera. PBA Playoffs, May 3rd through May 5th, Angel of the Winds Casino in Washington.
Holy
PBA
shit,
playoff. So they're gonna have different brackets for the PBA playoff. The other one is May 17th to May 19th in Kissimmee, Florida. And then the PBA Tour Finals are going to be in Bethlehem, PA. I'll actually be able to go to that. It's still Steel City Bowl and Brews. Okay, then you got the Lucy in July, and the PBA Jonesboro Open in late July. Storm Lucky Larson Masters late August, early September, and then everything wraps up basically with the PBA Elite League playoffs at Bayside, obviously in mid-September. Right. So,
man, we're going to have a lot of content.
Yeah. A lot of content, a lot of tournaments, a lot of TV, definitely a lot of TV. Let's talk. One thing I noticed, and I forget where I saw this actually, and I might be wrong about this too, but I believe I read somewhere when they released the information originally about the full schedule, that, and we'll have to go back and take a look at this perhaps for our next episode or before the tour starts, but it seems like some of these fields are limited.
You mean limited in what sense? Are they doing like
limited in number? Like some of the numbers struck me as somewhat low for a traditional PBA tournament. But again, I forget exactly where I saw that, but I'll have to take a look. I'll have to do some more research.
Are they PTQing it and then, or are they just cutting the field? Like I don't like that's the question.
I believe PTQs are going to be involved, but I don't know how many spots are going to be given.
Yeah.
So that's another question.
Yeah. I don't, unless the bowling centers are small and they just can't fit the amount of bowlers, which is always, sucks. For regular events like the Illinois Classic and the Missouri Classic, stuff like that, like I don't agree with there being a PTQ. I think they should just let anybody that has a card bowl, honestly, like because I think it's just
that's why
more prize fund and makes more like bowlers, and
that's why I don't want to get too deep into that because I forget where I saw the information. I'm going to have to find where I saw it. But we'll definitely come back to that. Nico commenting that the PBA Tour Finals in Bethlehem. What's up? You coming, son? You coming? Dinner on me if you're coming. Let me know. You coming down to hang out? We going to watch the PBA Tour Finals?
We had some great times in Allentown. That's like next door to Bethlehem.
No doubt. Lou says he's bowling the PBA 50 World Series. No doubt. Shout out to Lou.
Come out to the Masters.
Lumber
Flexual said he's going to bring a sweep the rack sign. Where's the event you're going to, Lumber? Where are you located? I apologize. Maybe I should know that already, but what event are you going to? Where are you? People in the chat, man, where are you guys off to? Are you going to be able to check out any of these events? Anybody going to be at the Masters? Stop in and say hello while I'm there.
Yeah, so Charlie commenting that Justin Knowles told him that they're cutting field sizes. Yeah,
wow.
See, I know I saw somewhere. I could not remember today when I was looking around where I saw it, but it was like a breakdown of how many entries or how many players were going to be in these certain events. And I'm telling you, the numbers were not high at all. It definitely struck me like, wow, that's a pretty low number for a typical PBA event. But nonetheless, listen, there's going to be a lot of bowling, regardless of what the entries are. There's going to be a lot of bowling. There's going to be a lot of bowling to review, a lot of content, a lot of tournaments. Looking forward to the schedule. Then, if you look at the PBA League, let's talk about the changes there. Some major changes going on there. I mean, we had already discussed the changes to how they're going to do it, right? And they basically took your suggestion and ran with it in terms of making regular events for the teams at these tour stops, right? And that's what they're going to do this year.
Took my idea and they went the opposite way on the teams,
right? And they are detracting. Okay, they are detracting teams from the league, right? So 2 teams, I believe, are being disbanded, right? And then they also, again, change some of the locations of the teams. Like New Jersey has a team now. It's not New York anymore. It's New Jersey.
What is the point of all that?
The Atom Splitters are now in Akron, Ohio. Like that's
the point of all this, though.
I know. I don't know. I guess there's got to be an explanation for why they would retract, right? And that probably has to do with the number of players that are available at all these events where they're going to hold team events. I would think that that has to have something to do with it. They're also expanding the roster to 6, right? So each team is going to have 6 players.
That makes sense, because if someone like when Bill couldn't go because he was injured, he just wouldn't go. But if there was 6, he might have tried to bowl, right? Like that's the difference between 5 and 6 on a team. I mean, look, like we bowl college for so long, and you had to bring 6. You're able to sub in, sub out. It was a big part of the team bowling aspect.
Yeah, so one of the interesting aspects of that, or one of the interesting results of them disbanding two teams, is that you're going to have some really good players entering the draft. So interesting
Yep.
to watch the draft and see how that plays out. Especially with if you're paying attention to some of the behind the scenes relationships and how that impacts some of the decisions. There
Is the
might be.
draft going to be the same? Dawn Forshey asked in the chat, is the draft going to be different, you think, than the previous years? Are they going to kind of do the same?
No, I believe they're doing the same thing. It's the team that finished last is going to pick first, and then it's a snake style draft going from there.
so
But
stupid. The
but you're
snake
going to
style is
have
ridiculous.
yeah, you're definitely going to have some high quality players in that draft because of them disbanding two teams and putting those
Yeah,
players back into the draft.
right. But essentially, 10 less bowlers now are getting picked, right? But they're being able to pick one more bowler each team, right? So, I mean, does it come out to the same amount of bowlers that get drafted, even though they disbanded two teams because they're able to draft 6 now?
Well,
I'd
it
have to
would
do the
be
math in
10,
my head.
right? It would be 10 get put back in, so 10 less get picked, but
One more per
uh,
team. How many
right,
teams are
but
there?
there's only one more per team, and I think there's only 8 teams, so it's probably short a few.
So a
It's
couple
probably short
bowlers
a
are going to
couple.
get shorted. There's a
Yeah.
couple more shafts coming down the pipeline. I'll be interested to see. But yeah, I know I remember. I think Chris Barnes on the Beef and Barnesy show talked about how the snake draft is ridiculous. Because yeah, essentially you get two of the top like bowlers in the team that picks last, right? And that's kind of how it would go, right? Because one picks first, and then 8 would pick, and then 8 would pick again. So this ain't fantasy football. I think you're getting two really good bowlers if you're picking last. That might be an advantage in a weird way, right? Aloha. I'm not gonna try to say your name, but he's always in the chat, and I wish I knew his name. But yeah, Nico's already got Sean Rash picking first overall.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Nico. I don't know about that.
We'll see.
Three
We'll
bet
of
one
course talk
saying,
about it.
how about teams based on ball companies? Three bet.
They did that in the
I
first
think the
release.
problem with that is that there's really not enough ball companies at this point to
Yeah.
do something like that. I'd rather see teams based on regions.
Oh, like where the people live.
Yeah, make teams
That's a good
based
idea.
on regions. And then give the regional bowlers something to bowl for. Maybe if you win your
Oh, Doyle,
region, or
Camp, the
you get a
people.
spot on the team. Doyle, what's good,
Yeah.
bro?
Speaking of Doyle, is in the chat. Why don't we just put all the bowlers in a wrestling ring and just let them fight it out? That would get more viewers than the draft would on Bowl TV.
No doubt.
Put my money
All
on
right,
Tom
Rob,
Hanks.
let's keep it moving. I feel like that's enough scheduled talk for now.
It
No?
is. It is. Yeah.
Okay. You want to do a couple emails?
Sure. We had
Can
some
we
good
do a
ones.
couple emails?
Yeah,
All
the
right.
email.
So let's see. First, I want to give a shout out to Gregory Hills, who reached out to us last week, Rob. And the reason Greg reached out to us was because he wanted information from me about the sport thing that I run on Tuesday nights and how we do it, and and what the rules are and how we run things. He's thinking about running his own. I'll be honest with you. Those type of emails are like the best emails to me, because
Yep.
if there's anything that I would love to see come out of this circus of an experience of doing this podcast, it's that a grassroots community is built in other places to promote the challenging side of the game. Right. So I love getting that email. I give a shout to Greg. Not too much to discuss in that email. Let's see.
John Blinn had a good one. I like to go into about how, he just started bowling on a Monday night sports shot league last
Yeah,
Monday.
okay. So
Never bowled.
John Blinn reached out. He said the following: for just under 2 years, my wife and I have owned a small 10-lane center in northeastern Iowa. We've got above ground ball returns, and bowling on sport has never been a part of the culture. We are usually closed on Mondays, but for the past 2 months, I've started a Monday night sports shot on the last Monday of the month. Love it. Love it. Once a month. Once a month. It doesn't have to be all the time. People might not want to bowl on it all the time. It brings pain, depression, and misery. We know this already. So once a month, great. Okay, I love it. I absolutely love it. I have never,
Depression.
I had never, I had never bowled on sport before our first night, and I'm in love with it now. I love it. I love it.
I
My
know.
career high average on house is a trash 188, but I still love the challenge. We started with the Earl Anthony pattern and only had two bowlers out of 18 score over 600 in the 3 games of qualifying. That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that. Last night we were on the 2019 Bear pattern, and we had 19 show up with 3 women as well this time. I think we'll see this thing grow and evolve. We're going to do an end of the year tournament of champions where the top 4 from each night will qualify, and we'll hopefully get some sponsors to make it a big money night for them. At a minimum, it has made almost everyone who has done it appreciate how much easier the walled up house shot is. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine if people actually had to acknowledge how easy it is, right? They
I
said
just like the fact that I feel like, we've been doing this show for years, almost going probably now 5 years, coming in February. About 5-year anniversary will be in February. And if we could start getting the message out to people like this who can start their own sports shop and introduce them to bowling centers that don't have them, or reach out to managers or owners or proprietors of their centers, or maybe their own proprietors, and even just put out the sports shot for even a couple hours once a week, to get people like introduced to it, and we're the reason that's happening. I feel like we're giving back to the sport in a great way, because it will catch. It is contagious when you start actually challenging yourself and other people, that have been bowling on easy level for their whole lives, and all of a sudden they realize there's a whole new sport, essentially, right? Bowling is a whole new sport once you start bowling on the sports side of it. It's like your eyes open. It's like the Matrix, where you've been, in taking the blue pill, right, into the easy lanes, right, and then all of a sudden you're introduced to what's really happening in the sports side of it. And I feel like it brings a whole new, just of motivation and excitement into the sport if you've been bowling on house your whole life.
Want to give a shout out to Harvey, who reached out to us, sent us a nice email. Want to give a shout out to William Eunice, who reached out to us and shot us a nice email. He wants more interviews on the show. We'll do our best there. Want to give a shout out to David. I'm going to butcher this last name, I think. Civiletti, okay, who reached out to us with a whole list of things he's learned in 3 times bowling on a sport pattern. I'll give you a few. You must know your equipment. On a sports shot, shoot your spares straight.
I'm saying that since day one, Mike.
If you walk into a tournament and everyone is sanding their ball down, that might tell you something, like sand your ball down. So just a few things that he's learned. Shout out.
I mean, those are amazing pieces of advice, though. Like, those are basic sports shot like information. I would advise, if you're bowling, even on a house shot, during practice, always have a 500,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 Abralon pads literally with you. Some people put them in a book bag. Some people will put them next to. You're allowed to change and hit your balls during practice. And that's, you could look that up if you don't believe me. And yeah, don't be afraid to hit your balls with 1,000, 2,000 pads. Like, if you've watched your ball kind of not doing what it's supposed to be doing at the spot at the break point. But I mean, it's a lot of people don't do it. A lot of people are shining their equipment up, right? And there's some usefulness to shining equipment up, but I don't think, and just from the high level and the pro level, Mike, and you could probably agree with this, I don't know if I've ever seen a bowling pro, a PBA touring pro, shine a ball up. Okay, actually shine a ball up. At this point, if they want the ball to go longer, they're probably hitting it with a 4,000 pad. They're not shining the ball up. I mean, there is a lot of usefulness to shining your ball up, but like at the highest level, they don't shine their stuff, and at least that's what I believe. I don't see it a lot when I'm bowling high level tournaments. I want to
So
read
if they're throwing something that has some shine on it, you're saying it's probably just out of the box.
out. The pros don't use a lot of stuff out of the box unless it's like comes with the surface. The one thing that Bill O'Neill always told me is the reason why the balls come out of the box really shiny is for marketing reasons, for when the balls go on the shelf to sell better. They will hit their balls with pads before they even throw a shot. You always want to knock off the marketing shine, I call it.
Yeah, I've
You know,
heard
just
that
because
too.
it looks pretty doesn't mean it's going to perform that way. I never throw a ball out of the box that's shiny. I'm always hitting it. And that's just coming from the best in the world. Like he tells me something and I'm just like, yeah, like I'm not gonna
Yeah, I can
you
say
know.
in my experience of bowling on sport, it's very rare that I'm throwing a ball with shine on it. Very rare.
So Nico says, so you're saying it's more lane shine? I would say yes, because they're not allowed to hit their balls during
Yeah.
a longer block, right? So if you watch them in practice, their balls are pretty. They have pretty much a lot of surface. They are trying to get their balls to slow down at the back of the lane, and they're using a lot of pads to do that. They're not shining their stuff. I'm not
So,
saying there's no useful to it, right? If you're bowling a house league and they're really dry, you might need to shine your stuff up. But I'm just saying what they do at the highest level.
so David actually ended his email with a question. He said, "When you're dealing with this much oil, how are you to know how much surface to put on the ball? I know this is going to depend on the ball itself. Like the ball I left in the car was an Ebonite Polaris solid. Is there a general rule of thumb when it comes to this? Uh, for me, it's hit it as heavy as I think I can get away with without being ridiculous. Usually it's 500.
Yeah.
You
Don't be
know,
afraid to go to 500. Like if
yeah,
you
no,
think
that's
you
what I'm
need to.
saying. Like start at 500 because even if you hit it with 500 and they're really tight after a game or so, it ain't going to be 500 anyway, and you can't go back and sand it. So I would also say that after 500, I think going down to the next level of pad, you risk getting a little silly. You risk like really.
500 is the lowest I'll ever go.
Yeah, I agree. I
There's
agree.
no
I
there's
don't.
no reason for anybody to ever go lower than 500.
I don't
If they,
carry
if you
anything
have to go
lower than
lower than
500.
500, then your ball speed's probably way too much. Um, but yeah, so I mean, great emails though. Like I said before, I love hearing uh people starting their own sport shots and getting
Oh, he's
involved
in
in
the
that.
chat, no doubt. What's up, David? Didn't even see you in the
Yo,
chat there. He also said at the end of his email, "For a good laugh, I've attached my scores." And I want to say something about that. Bullshit. Bullshit. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear, "Oh, for a good laugh." I don't laugh at anybody that goes out and bowls on sport. I don't laugh at anybody. If I see people bowling on sport, I don't even care if they're shooting 100, less than 100. I give them credit. I give them credit for being out there and trying that side of the game. I laugh at the people who post, "Oh, this was my 68th 800." I laugh at that, okay? Because to me that's silly. So yeah, I don't think the people that go out there and take a risk to compete on something challenging, should be offering themselves up as comedic fodder, for
so
people to laugh at.
just like I call we're in a bowling ball epidemic, and people are so focused these days on the bowling balls they're drilling instead of actually learning how to bowl. I think a lot of people are a lot focused on their scores too much, to be honest with you. Unless you're bowling at the obviously high level. If you're bowling a sport league, um, don't really too many people are focused on their average and their scores. When reality, you're probably bowling a sport league to learn how to bowl on it, Mike. Like the scores, unless you're really bowling for some serious money, you should join a sport league to learn how to bowl on it. Ask people who are bowling the league that are better than you get that advice from them. Learn, like, try to figure out what you're doing wrong. Switch bowling balls.
Agreed.
Um, Don't worry. You bowl 130. Who cares? Like, no one's going to remember. Everyone else is probably bowling that too on that shit, right? If you're learning, if you never bowled on a sport before, stop focusing on the scores and start focusing on your process, your decisions, what equipment you're making, and your shot making. If you could figure out how to make spares and you could figure out how to make smart decisions, you're going to start bowling better on sport. There's no way around it.
Yeah, no doubt. Actually, I want to give a shout out to one of the guys who comes out to the Tuesday night thing. Willie has come out to the Tuesday night sport thing for a while now. Starting to bowl pretty well on it. What does he do last week? He shoots his first 300 on house. So shout to him. Always nice to get your first one.
What up, Greg?
Greg Tack, what up? Greg Tack, I left your post up here because I have a question. Where are you at, son? Where are you at on Tuesday nights, bro? You're MIA, bro. Grinch Classic coming up, Lodi Lanes. When is it, Greg? Tell us in the chat. It's like 2 weekends, right? December 9th, 11th? I forget what the date is. Tell us in the chat.
I love hearing that your son's 14. He loves bowling on sport. Yo, keep him motivated and keep him bowling on sport, and he'll really get better, and he's going to become really good when he gets older, believe me. Let's see some other chat. We got a lot of chat here.
Jim Ward saying, just wondering, have you ever used wet dry sandpaper on a bowling ball? It works pretty good. We used to do that all the time back in the day before the Aberlon pads came out.
Not anymore.
No doubt. I mean, back in the day, that was my job at the pro shop. Are you kidding me?
Well, I had a spinner in my garage.
That's how I earned my keep, was sitting at that spinner with the bowling ball box around it, like just hitting the wet dry sandpaper, sand, and resurfacing. But Jim, you can also you can use water on the Aberlon pads too. I do it all the time. I go into the shop early, and Chris over at the shop is nice enough to let me behind the counter, and I kind of just go back and get some water and do my thing.
Dawn, my advice to you as a mother who's a son who's 14 who wants to be a pro. When I was 14 or 15, I wanted to be a pro more than anything, and my parents weren't the biggest supporters of me being a pro. They supported me up until I was in high school and then college, and then they were like, get a real job. My advice to you would be is if that's what he wants to do, support him and do whatever you can to make that happen, because if you don't, he's going to end up getting a real job and it'd be my age and end up working in corporate America for the rest of his life.
Oh God, no pressure. No pressure, Dawn. No pressure.
I'm just saying, support it.
If you don't support it, you're gonna wreck the kid's life forever. Oh my God, you got a good life, son. What are you talking about?
EJ Tackett made $500,000 this year on tour, so you could use that as motivation.
Yeah, well, if he's like the best in his generation, then yeah, encourage him. But
hey,
unless he's like unless he's a generational talent, maybe make sure that he's having a well-rounded experience too.
Yeah, I just think that's just, my father was just like, oh, when you get 21, you got to get a real job. I'm like, damn it, bowling is a real job. No, it's not.
True. David, are you going to the Grinch Classic? David in the chat saying Grinch Classic is December 16th. Practice starts at 10:15. You going? If you're going, if I'm there, if I can make it, hot dogs on me at Rutt's Hut, very famous hot dog place up in North Jersey, right around the corner from Lodi. So if you want to go, let me know. I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. Grinch Classic, I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm ready for the Grinch Classic. That's where Greg Tack puts out some ridiculous pattern. It's always just ridiculously hard. And while I'm always up for a challenge, no offense, Greg, sometimes Greg goes over the line between challenging and silly. And I don't know. If he gives me the guarantee that it's not going to be silly, then probably a better chance that I show up. But
someone in the chat, the rebet one's asking if my brother Dave still bowls. My brother Dave got injured 2 years ago at the USBC national tournament, and he tore his bicep or forearm, and he hasn't thrown a ball since. Too much preacher curls in the weight room. He fucked his forearm up. All right, Mike. What? Anything else for the people? You want to get into worst of the week?
Worst of the week. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I got a message for Greg Tacto real quick. Stop with the crazy bullshit patterns. Stop with that shit. Like seriously, like if I bowled in your area and I would just tell him, look, make him. I don't give a shit. Put U.S. Open. Put flat. Put red square. Stop with the bullshit. Stop with all the crazy bullshit, like mad scientist type shit. Nobody wants to bowl in a 55-foot, pattern that has like 50 milliliters. Okay, no, that's stop. Just put out something that's
last year. That's kind of what it was. It was like super tight. I mean, super tight last year. Like it was game 3, and we were still backing it up into the hole.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Stop
they
with
were
the bullshit.
they
See,
were
that's not even
super
like
tight.
it's bull. That's bullshit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
We
this
forgot about
is a
Sean
good
Ranch.
question. It's a good
Yeah,
question.
we
Yeah,
forgot.
we
It
didn't
was
hear. We didn't
Thanksgiving,
hear
a
from him.
holiday. I didn't want to bother Sean. We'll get him.
Next
We'll get
week.
him on though.
Next week, it's
I'll get him
coming.
on.
Don't
Pal.
worry.
Good to hear from you, buddy. Hope all's good with you, man. All right, Mike.
Go ahead.
I got a worst of the week because I feel like my worst of the week might go a little bit. We might talk about it a little bit. And if anybody follows me on Twitter, they're probably knowing where this worst of the week is going to be. I ran into a post from someone on one of the reels. You ever go down those reel wormhole mics where you're just watching reels and you just realize you've been watching them for like 15 minutes or 20 minutes?
I do it on YouTube, and it's
Yeah.
with various stuff, but mostly
Yeah.
mostly Sopranos.
Oh yeah, well, it's amazing how the algorithm picks up of what you watch and what your like attention is because they keep feeding you the reels that you watch. So all my reels are bowling reels, golden retriever reels, and hot women. Literally for 3. That's all my reels are, right? Because they know
Okay.
that's what gets me going, right? So I came across a bowling reel. Whereas this guy, an Instagram who I know someone who knows this person. I don't know him. Baby Bird 300 was bowling league, and he put a caption that was a reel that said, "I was throwing off, but forgot I was in the strike jackpot," and literally shows him like splitting, and then all of a sudden he's throwing strikes. It got me thinking, has sandbagging just become such an accepted part of the sport that now people are just posting shit on their Instagram or their like Twitter or their Facebook that they're throwing off in league? I mean, who does that? Who puts a post up that admitting that they're sandbagging? I'm sure if anybody right now from the USBC is probably listening to this, they could probably literally report this person and suspend them, right? I would imagine, right? Look, I'm no rat. Maybe by putting him on worst of the week, I'm indirectly ratting him out, right? I don't care. You put it on Instagram, you deserve everything that's coming to you if you get suspended. Who does that though? Is this Mike? Are we just not like disciplining people sandbagging anymore? Is this why I'm losing 271 to 246 in the handicap brackets? Like, what is like?
Yeah,
What,
yes, because anybody can shoot anything at any time.
what do you
So
mean by that?
how can you question somebody's scores when being able to score oftentimes isn't really a matter of skill? It's a matter of feet in the
Right.
right place, right ball
So
in the
you're saying
hand.
is that the easy conditions they feed into the sandbagging because anybody could bowl a 250 at any time, right? Like
Yeah,
because they're so easy, right?
yeah, or
Prior,
anybody.
if you had a 160 bowler bowl 250, it
Well,
was a
no, I
little
mean
bit
look at it the other
shady,
way.
right?
Like if you put out a sport pattern, okay, and you run a handicap tournament, and somebody comes in at let's say 170, okay, and they start shooting 220, you kind of know they weren't 170, because they're not going to consistently shoot 220. It's just
Right.
not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. They will not have the the necessary skill and repetition to shoot a score of that nature. Whereas on easy stuff, yeah, I mean you can't question anything. You can't
So I'm going to
question
bring up
anything. It's like
Eric's.
somebody who never bowled before could just take the ball two-handed and just throw it, and you got the whole right side.
So yeah, I mean, what stuck out to Eric's comment, Eric, good to hear from you, man. Hope all is well on your end. Sandbagging, got to fight fire with fire, right? Like that's the problem with the sport is people they have to compete with sandbagging in handicap tournaments. So what do? Then they sandbag, right?
Right.
All it takes is a few sandbaggers to create more sandbaggers because what Eric said, you have to fight fire with fire, right? Problem with the sport, huge problem with the sport. My opinion, get rid of the handicap tournament.
Major problem.
Get rid of the handicap tournaments. Get rid of them.
It's one of the biggest things that I've learned from running this sport event and from bowling the sport league in the previous years is that the handicap system works if you make them tough.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The handicap system works. Like I don't care what people say. Like you give me any bowler who comes to me with a house average and I re-rate them on the USBC scale of sport averages and I will wax their shit. Okay, even giving them 80% handicap, I'll wax their shit because they're that hard that you really have to have a different skill set to be able to do something on it. So yeah, it really made it apparent to me that like, oh yeah, well this is why the handicap system worked before because the lanes weren't giving you the score so much. But once the lanes start to give you the score, then the handicap becomes out of whack. This is why you have Mamma Mia, popping off 250 and beating Patch Pirate Johnny, who goes and throws his bowling ball in the parking lot because he left a 10 pin and lost to Mamma Mia.
Dude, there's nothing more dangerous than a Mamma Mia sandbagger, by the way. Those are the ones that are
Wednesday night. There was a tournament held at AMF Strathmore Lanes around here, handicap event. I didn't go, but I asked a couple people who went, who won, and they were like, "Oh, some handicap guy. He came in with a 170 average, and he just made the cut, and then once he made the cut, he didn't shoot anything below 220."
I learned how bad sandbagging was the year I bowled the Orange County city tournament, and I came in at a 204 average, not because I was sandbagging, but because I bowled on a unsanctioned sport league that never got sanctioned as a sport average.
Right.
I had a 204 average, Mike. For 9 games, I averaged scratch with a 204 average, 236 for 9 games, and wasn't in the top 5.
Right.
That's how I knew sandbagging was a major problem.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, that is wild that I had to literally average a 180 to I probably needed to have a 185 average and bowl the same score in order for me to win that tournament. Mamma Mia, though, she's a Mamma Mia that is sandbagging is the most dangerous sandbagger, Mike, because those are the ones you don't suspect to be sandbagging. The 75-year-old woman who walks in with one bowling ball,
right,
sandbagging, and then all of a sudden she brings out the high performance ball in the
tournament, right, and then goes 660 on your ass.
Doesn't miss a spare either.
While you're giving her 130 pins a game.
The best spare shooter too. She won't miss a spare regardless. Baby split 3, 6, 9, 10, all kinds of shit, washouts. She's making all of it, and then strikes out every time in a 9 to 10 frame. It never fails. Anyway, all right, Mike, what do you got for us?
All right, I got a worst of the week sent to us by a listener, Max Hunter. Max, shout to Max. And of course, I said I was gonna go off for the bowling science forum for some time, but I didn't pick this one. Max did, so I'm not counting it towards my own. Remember, I'm swearing off bowling science forum for a time.
I am not.
So this one is from Derek Andrus. Congratulations, Derek. You win worst of the week this week. Here's the post. My house has been very bad lately when it comes to oiling. Everyone has had a significant drop in average. Inconsistent ball motion, balls skidding and never making a break, or balls grabbing the lane too early and taking out the opposite side. Spoke with one of the counter guys. and he said that there was a problem with the tablet on the machine and that their typical house shot was deleted. Said that they then reprogrammed it with a similar shot, but the manager deleted that one too. After making a new one, another league bowler asked for more oil, so they added more oil. It's to the point that people are quitting, having subs finish out the season. It's so bad that people can't even get consistent marks, missing single pin spares that are not even corner pins. One of our guys is a small college coach and was tempted to call USBC to have them investigate and force a solution. Any ideas what to do? Oh, Jesus H. Crow. Where do you even start with this? Where do you even say? All right, here's what I want to say about this. This is why this is a great worst of the week. Do you see how entitled a lot of the bowling community is?
Entitlement is a great word too.
Do you see that? Do you hear the entitlement in that post? Okay, like they're supposed to shoot high scores, and the ball's supposed to hit the pocket most times, and you're supposed to make every single pin that's not a corner pin because you can throw it anywhere between second arrow and second arrow and make any spare. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy. Like, that's not what the game is supposed to be. The other thing is, oh yeah, they're going to call the USBC to investigate and force a solution. I got bad news for you, Derek. I got bad news for you, Hoss. Yeah.
It's entitlement is such a good word because that's a lot of what the that's a USBC designed entitlement. Not just USBC, but the proprietors are it was like a chain reaction where the one bowling alley made him easy, and then the next bowling alley had to compete and make him easier, and it was literally the snowball of just high scores and easy lanes.
And all they did was just keep rubber stamping.
That's it. And then
no more awards, but we're still going to rubber stamp.
And then they just realized that eventually it just got so out of control that there was no coming back from it. And then the bowling balls were getting better, the technology was getting better, but the lane surface is staying the same. The oil was staying the same for a while. So the bowling balls were getting better, but the lanes and the pins and everything was staying the same. So there was this whole technology gap in the sport, right? Which you could still make a case that it's still a technology gap from the bowling balls that are being thrown compared to the actual lane surfaces, the pins. And the really way to combat it is the oil patterns, right? And we talk about this a lot, but that doesn't, happen because the bowling proprietors are too afraid to lose bowlers and too afraid to lose revenue, which is understandable.
So what are you left with? You're left with a bunch of entitled
crybaby entitlement bowlers,
entitled crybabies who have major egos. I mean, listen, it is what it is.
Patch Pirates and Mamma Mia's. That's pretty much what you got.
This is a great quote by great comment by Nico here. He said, "People are entitled to easy scores, but hard for everyone else." And Nico, you're so right. Like, no one cares what the lanes are like for somebody else. They only care what the lanes are like for themselves. They don't care if easy for them means impossible for somebody else. They don't care about that. They just want them easy for them.
Yeah. Well, they want to keep feeding the ego so they can go back and bowl their 86 800s and not, Anyway. All right, Mike, let's wrap it up here.
Yes, Rob, let's wrap it up. It's after 10 o'clock.
I know you're probably snapping out.
I'm going to turn into a pumpkin. I'm going to turn into a pumpkin in 5 minutes. Listen, my final thought is keep the emails coming. We love the emails.
Love them. They're great.
Love the emails. Love hearing from people. Love the communication. Love sharing them here on the show. To me, it's become a new little segment we're doing when we have the opportunity to do it, and I love it. I think it creates a lot of opportunity for discussion. I kind of feel like, I've always said, like, this show's kind of like hanging out in a pro shop and just BSing with the people in the pro shop. And I feel like when we get the emails, it's like somebody walking into the pro shop and bringing up a new topic, and it, like,
I know.
Yeah. So keep the emails coming.
I wish we lived close together because I would really consider opening up a pro shop with you in the area and running it.
Andrew, see you Sunday. Andrew's coming down on Sunday. See you at the training center 9:30. I'll be there. I'll be there early. I'll be there at 9:15 probably.
I have a final thought, and it's a little bit just of a deeper final thought, and it stemmed from Shannon O'Keefe's public. She made a statement about why she withdrew from the U.S. Open, and it's more about being okay with not being okay. She had some, I'd say more just like yips, right? Anxiety probably more than anything, and she couldn't get out of her own way. Barry Escher had that same problem years ago, right, which forced him to retire. So it's good to see her back on the lanes. So if anybody hasn't really watched her video about what her statement was, I think you should all watch it. Which brings a bigger point is, in the game of bowling, your mental game is just as important, if not is even more important than your physical game, as well as your drilling your equipment. And that's the reason why I think I really annoys me about this bowling ball epidemic that we're in, where people are so focused with the bowling balls. And that's a lot of the reasons why I dropped that meme, which became pretty popular, in an aspect of, people asking what their PAP is and their 160 average. Because in reality, if you're a 160 average bowler, you shouldn't be worried about what your PAP is. You should be worried about physically actually creating shots, getting better with your mental game, your physical game, making spares, doing the basics, right, before you worry about what your PAP is, right? And that's kind of where the memes stem from. It's like, dude, if you have a 160 average, you shouldn't be worried about what your PAP is. You should be worried about actually getting better as a bowler. Back to the Shannon O'Keefe post. Take care of your mental health, people. If you have anxiety, depression, talk to someone. Get the right help. It's important. Bowling, take care of your mental game. If you're completely cursing yourself the whole time you're bowling, if you don't enjoy it, then don't do it. If you think you can get help, then get help. But it's a really important point that she brought out is, take care of your mental health, people. So that's really my final thought. And best wishes to Shannon O'Keefe. I hope we see her back on TV like ASAP, because she's one of the best bowlers, if not the best woman bowler on tour. And it wouldn't be the same without her on tour. So,
community, bring us Rudy Revs.
Please
bring us Rudy Revs.
I would make my mental health a lot better if we can get Rudy Revs on the show.
Bring us Rudy Revs.
I'll interview that guy anytime, any place. I'll call in sick fucking for work if I have to.
I would too.
3 a.m. on a Saturday night or Sunday night, I will set my alarm clock.
I would set my alarm as well. No doubt.
All right, people. Email us.
Email us, sweeptherack@gmail. Follow us on social media. Twitter's where we do our thing. I'm at the 215th. He's at Brooklyn Rob 11. Hit us up, and we will see everybody next week. Peace.
All right, peace.
Go Birds.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.